I'm Emily Mashak, and you are listening to Tuned Into NoCo, Town Square Media's show that lets you know what matters in NoCo. I'm talking today with Kellie Falbo, the Executive Director of the Sustainable Living Association, and Jensen Morgan, the Senior Environmental Sustainability Specialist with the City of Fort Collins. And we're here today to talk about lots of fun events surrounding sustainability. So thank you both for joining me today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having us, Emily.
Of course. Now, before we get into all the fun events, I want to hear a little bit about each of you. How did you both become involved with sustainability?
Okay. Yeah. Well, as you said, Emily, I'm the executive director for the Sustainable Living Association, and we actually started this rodeo about 20 years ago. So, we really came in at the forefront of the sustainability movement culturally, and especially in Fort Collins. And, we just recognized that there were a lot of steps we could be taking to, live more in balance with nature. And that's kind of really been our journey all along through our different programming. And we've had a lot of various community partners throughout that journey, and the city has been one of the strongholds. We've done a lot of great work together, and we're celebrating our 20 years this year, but we got to keep in mind there's a lot more work to be done. So we're here for the long haul, and we're excited to hear from our community during this event that we're doing this weekend, and hear what's important to them in terms of sustainable initiatives now and how we can actually be a part of those solutions for them. So we're excited.
How about you, Jensen?
Yeah, appreciate that background, Kellie, too. I'm really passionate about the Sustainable Living Association, and I've always had great partnerships with you here at the city, and appreciate all you do. My background kind of in sustainability, I originally moved to Fort Collins to go to CSU for grad school, focused on kind of climate action, sustainability science, and then found out what City of Fort Collins and our community is doing and how passionate our community is about sustainability and climate action. And that just motivated me to stay, and got lucky enough to get the opportunity to work here at the city on the climate team and environmental services. So that's kind of my background of how I got into sustainability and how I'm lucky enough to get to work on that here at the city of Fort Collins.
That is so great. Can you also expand on that, each of you, about your current roles and what you each do with your organizations and with your work with the city?
Sure. Well, as the executive director for a nonprofit organization, I wear a lot of hats. Organizationally, though, we really look to build those connections and networks within the Northern Colorado region. We feel that a lot more can be done, working collectively, and we can have a much bolder impact in terms of climate change and the different initiatives that we get behind. So we really are an educational and outreach organization. So we try to bring people the tools and information and resources so that they can make, educated, conscious decisions in their lives and through their purchasing and how they interact with nature as well. So that's kind of our main focus. We dabble a little bit in the political realm, just in terms of helping people engage in issues and matters that concern them, that they're passionate about, and try to get them the information and make sure they have the avenues to make their voices heard. We also work with, our business community quite a bit. We believe in small businesses and shopping locally. So we do a sustainability leadership program for businesses to help them really learn how to drive, sustainable initiatives within their organization. And they also get a lot of personal takeaways from that. So we have a lot of different avenues that we go down. And honestly, it couldn't be possible without the type of community that we live here in Fort Collins. And the city really is a model community. And I think that Jensen could speak a little bit more to that.
Yeah, I'm happy to jump in there. Thanks, Kellie. So, I work on the climate team, which is part of environmental services in that department. And the climate team's focus is really trying to help work with the community to implement our community's very ambitious and important climate action goals that we've set, which are some of the most aggressive in the world, actually. So we have a 20% by 2020 goal. So this year, we're hoping to reach that 20% reduction of greenhouse gas emissions from our 2005 baseline. And then we have our 2030 goal, which is an 80% reduction of emissions from 2005. And then by 2050, we're hoping to be carbon neutral. And so those, again, are some of the most ambitious goals in the world, along with some of the other larger, really progressive cities. And so that's kind of what our climate team is working on, and partnering with folks like Kellie and SLA, as well as many other community partners, to try to make that happen. So in terms of what we're doing day to day and kind of my role, my focus is community engagement and climate action. So really focused on that behavior change side and kind of helping work with community members to kind of motivate other community members to make things happen and do different household behaviors. So example of that is the Shift campaign, which is part of what we're featuring with SLA this weekend, the Shift Your Ride Challenge. So Shift is a brand that's focused on how we can encourage folks to save time, energy, and money while contributing to our climate action goals. And so that's kind of what that Shift campaign is about. But in tandem and equally as important in that kind of bigger picture, more visionary space, we're also updating our climate action plan, our road to zero waste plan, and our energy policy right now. And so we're doing all three of those together, and we're calling that our climate future. And that is really trying to think forward to that 2030 goal we've gotten in about a decade from now, and trying to say, how can we as a community really innovate and revolutionize how we think about transportation, how we think about energy, waste, all those things to hit some of our more ambitious climate goals.
That is so cool to hear about all of these amazing endeavors. And now we have a lot of those to talk about today. I want to start off with Sustainable Solutions, a virtual event going on now. Kellie, how can people participate?
Absolutely, Emily. Sustainable Solutions is our 3-day virtual event celebrating 20 years for the Sustainable Living Association. And it's going to be available September 18th through the 20th on all of our social media channels. So people are going to want to connect now to be a part of the action. During the event, we have, I think it's like 105 events, videos, music segments, posts, and interactions for people to participate in. And that'll all be, again, going through our channels socially. So we want people to engage there. And really, it's a celebration of what we've accomplished in Northern Colorado over the last 20 years. And we want to hear from people. We've got some coffee chats with me and special guests. A couple of the mornings, we've got some live virtual happy hours with special guests where we really want to engage with the community and hear, again, what's important to them right now and what should our trajectory be for the next decade of action that we're planning. We've got a great bicycle scavenger hunt. It's a self-guided tour that people can participate in. It's all available on our website at sustainablelivingassociation.org. And you can download the secret puzzle and visit local businesses. You don't have to go inside. Answer the secret puzzle and you could be entered to win a prize from that. And we're tying it in with the City of Fort Collins Shift Your Ride campaign for September, where they're trying to get 1,500 people to take the Shift Your Ride pledge. And Jensen, I'm not sure how we doing on that.
Yeah, so thank you. Our goal is to get 1,500 community members, as you said, by Earth Day 2021. And so the Shift Your Ride month of September is really meant to be this launching point for that. And so we're currently actually at 250 community members who've signed into the pledge after only about 15 days of the campaign launching. So that's very exciting. So feeling very hopeful and optimistic about that.
That's great. And this event really is about helping people take action. So we've got the Shift Your Ride pledge. We also have an impact pledge on climate change available through our website. And it's designed to help people understand what causes climate change and then recognize how they can reduce their impact and then how to communicate those lessons learned. So another action step that people can take. We've also got lots of live music with local musicians that'll be streaming through our Facebook channel. And we're doing a really fun event with Town Square Media and Retro 1025 called the Driveway Jam Session on Saturday from 5 to 7 p.m., where people can tune into Retro 102.5. And it's going to be music, and it's also going to be education and information on some of these things that people can participate in, not just over the weekend of Sustainable Solutions, but year-round within the city of Fort Collins. So we're really excited for that partnership.
Such a fun weekend. And I know that people will also be sharing their sustainability stories at the event. Do you have any stories you've heard so far over your career that have really inspired you and that you'd like to share today?
God, there are so many. Even just fun stories to teaching people how to, raise backyard chickens. We do a fun little event every year called the Tour de Coop, and it's a bicycle tour of area backyard chicken coops and farms so that people can actually learn from their neighbors and people that are doing it. And we call it an educational program on chickens from beak to butt. And we always get a lot of really fun engagement with that. People are just cuckoo for chickens. It's so interesting. We've had some other really inspiring stories along the way. Just folks, we had someone in our sustainability leadership program, which is an annual 8-month program that we do for businesses in Northern Colorado. And he kind of came in a little skeptical, like, what are we doing here? What's this all about? And, by the middle of the program, he was on a bicycle on the day that we did our social awareness day, and was riding his daughter's purple bicycle around town. And about 3/4 of the way through the program, he says, "Kellie, I'm backyard composting. What is going on here?" It was really great to see his progress.
That is so awesome. I love that. And I can't tell you how excited we are here at Town Square Media for the Driveway Jam event. And now, Jensen, I know we've touched on Shift Your Ride throughout the interview, but what other details do we need to know about the Shift Your Ride challenge?
Yeah, definitely. As we mentioned, Shift Your Ride is all about getting folks to shift to an alternative mode of transportation, be it biking, walking, riding a scooter, an e-scooter, an e-bike, taking the bus, really just avoiding that one extra car trip per week. That's the goal. And so it's designed intentionally so that community members who maybe are eco warriors and already ride their bike a lot to kind of take that one extra step per week and challenge themselves, as well as folks who maybe really don't shift the ride very often. And this is maybe the first times they've done that. And this is an opportunity for them to kind of explore in that space a little bit. So really it's designed to be a challenge for everybody. What's awesome, you can actually sign up at fcgov.com/SYR, acronym for Shift Your Ride. So you can sign up there for the challenge. And if you enter the challenge, you'll be also entered into a drawing for a free bike, which we'll be doing the drawing closer to Earth Day 2021. So it's just a fun little incentive to kind of get started and start participating as a community in kind of our climate action work.
That is so cool. And I saw on your website that there are several Shift Your Ride events throughout this month as well. Would you be able to tell me more about those?
Yeah, definitely. We have Bike to Wherever Day, which is kind of the spiritual successor during this COVID time of Bike to Work Day, which have been very successful, fun events. So that one really is just encouraging folks, we don't necessarily have to be biking to work, since many, many folks are actually not going into the office. They're working from home. So instead of, biking to work, bike to the grocery store or bike to the park to meet friends for a COVID safe outdoor, hangout session. So that really is meant to be a fun play on words to encourage all of us to just think differently about our transportation and kind of one day of celebration. And then we don't necessarily have open streets in the same way this year, but we are kind of having some fun events that are out in the community that are kind of COVID safe, similarly to that going on.
Mm-hmm. And again, you mentioned this a little bit earlier, but could you expand on what other ways the city is helping Fort Collins residents live more sustainably?
Yeah, definitely. City of Fort Collins is known for a number of different programs. Our utilities department is very successful. They have a lot of different things like the Epic Loans program, which provides loans that are actually attached to your utility bill that allow you to do energy efficiency upgrades and different things at your house if you're part of Fort Collins Utilities, which most folks are. We have our FC Moves department, which provide a lot of different educational programs around if you've never biked before and you want to learn, or there's even a bike buddy program if you want to partner up with somebody who is an experienced biker and learn from them about how you get around, what are the right routes, those types of things. So the city is known for many different kind of variety of programs that you can get a hold of or participate in. We have our Recycling Ambassadors program if you're really interested in waste reduction recycling and want to learn more and also educate the community that you can participate in. And then another one, we also have our Natural Areas Volunteers if you're really interested in kind of the natural environment and how our natural areas, nature in the city and all those things work. That's another great place to get involved.
So there are obviously so many ways that people in Fort Collins can live sustainably through the help of the city, as well as groups like SLA. But what are each of your tips for living sustainably in your day-to-day life, especially if people might not have a lot of money or time on their hands, but still want to help the environment?
On our website, we actually have activity called 20 Actions for 20 Years. And it's a fantastic resource for people to just go in and look at real simple tips in their lives simple tips that they can make adjustments in their lives without having, to come up with a big financial investment. It's not like go out and buy an electric vehicle. It's more like consider alternative transportation to reduce your CO2 production. So that's our 20 Actions for 20 Years campaign. And I would really look at that resource. For me personally, Emily, I think you have to walk the talk. You have to be very authentic and just lead by example. Be a good steward of the environment. And I think also that connecting with nature and understanding the importance and that balance that it brings to our world raises that awareness of why it's so important to protect it. So whether it's replacing your light bulbs with LED or compact fluorescents, or whether it's water conservation in your home, or whether it is riding your bike more, or planting your own backyard garden, I think there's so many things that we can do individually without a large investment that can lead us on that path to more sustainable behavior and actions. And it's kind of contagious. You kind of just go to that next step and that next step and that next step. So we're here. The Sustainable Living Association is a great resource for all of our communities up here. And we encourage you to take a look at that list and see where you might want to get started.
That is so awesome. How about you, Jensen?
Yeah, in addition to checking out the treasure trove of things that SLA puts together, they're definitely a leader in our community and have been for many years. So definitely check out that 20 Actions for 20 Years. Shift kind of does some similar things as well. And so if you go to fcgov.com/just-shift, we actually have a shift tip video series that we're building out over time. They're usually about 60 to 90 second videos that are meant to just give you little tips and tricks for how to have more sustainable behaviors and lifestyle actions. And another thought, if you really want to dig in deep, we have a website called shiftfoco.com. And that's really a gamification platform where you can actually put in your information about your carbon footprint. And then there are choices of 73 different actions that you can filter by difficulty, by greenhouse gas reduction, by cost, that can kind of help you map out ways you want to actually really move towards a more carbon neutral and sustainable lifestyle.
So great that we have all of these resources for Fort Collins residents. I'm going to finish off with a pretty big question, so don't be scared. But how has living sustainably impacted you personally, and how have each of you seen your sustainable practices make an impact so far?
Yeah, well, I can speak to that first. For me, watching our community develop and grow the way it has, I think that we have a pretty conscious community here, and we all love living in a healthy and vibrant place, that we're safe and we're comfortable, and we know that people care. And I think sustainability is part of that. It's that caring piece, whether it's reducing carbon emissions so that we're helping with climate action, or whether it's not idling your vehicle at the train stop because that produces bad air quality for us, or whether it's just being, open and willing enough to offer advice to your neighbor or your family. People in this community are very conscious and aware, and I think I've really seen that grow over the years. One thing that really sticks out is our zero waste efforts in this community. And I know the city has the Road to Zero Waste plan, which is fantastic. The Sustainable Living Association produced the first zero waste event at the Sustainable Living Fair. I want to say it was back in 2001. And we really watched that grow. A little company called Zero Hero, who's now doing national events, and now they're doing waste sorting for the fire camps in different areas. They've got a new government contract. So I've really seen some businesses grow from this organization and the work that we've done. And for me personally, we've really built a family around the programs and events. And we really have a family of people that we now, we get to do so much more together, but we really did the hard work together, and we grew from that. And watching those tentacles grow out into the community, and watching people, even the people who are just starting to get engaged in sustainable issues, and what is the proper way to recycling? And that inspires me, because it gives me hope that people are listening. And I'm very proud of this community and all the various organizations that are moving these efforts forward and making this kind of lifestyle available to people, because it makes Fort Collins the great place it is to live and play and work.
How about you, Jensen?
I think I got to first at least echo total support for what Kellie said around building community. For example, I was actually in SLA's Sustainable Living Leadership Program, and I am hanging out with two of the folks in that cohort that I met this Wednesday. So truly build a community and genuine friends and connections. So seriously, hats off to that. You all truly do that really, really well. I think personally for me, to sum it all up, both in terms of working in sustainability, but also the SHIFT campaign specifically, I think it's starting small. I think it can be overwhelming to folks even passionate about sustainability. Well, I'm not doing enough. I'm not doing this and this and this and this, and the list can grow really long. Or even people just starting, they're like, well, I don't necessarily identify. I'm not a sustainability person. So that means that it's overwhelming to think about all those things, right? So I think what SHIFT has really tried to do that I've seen be really successful is, you don't have to be the everything. You don't have to do all of it. Start small and, take this one step. Stop your junk mail. That was the first action we promoted. And I think we got a lot of folks who normally would be not necessarily super engaged in sustainability starting to open their eyes to it a little bit more. And then you can kind of follow the breadcrumb trail to some bigger actions. So in my personal life, I think an example of that would be, I love driving my car and going on camping trips and things. And I've really been challenging myself with the Shift Your Ride challenge to think differently about that. And that first just meant, biking more. And now I'm actually car sharing with somebody. And so that saves me money, but also encourages me not to drive as much because some days I just don't have the car. And now I've gotten an e-bike and actually driving even less because I'm just riding this e-bike everywhere. So again, if I had told myself I'm going to just not drive my car anymore and ride my e-bike, I would have been like, whoa, that's overwhelming. But, I think I tried to follow that breadcrumb trail. And so just trying to encourage our whole community to do that a little more. You might find yourself, having sustainable behaviors you didn't think you'd have a year ago. So.
Well, that is great advice. And thank you both for sharing your stories. Do each of you have anything else that you would like listeners to know?
Shift your ride and get outside.
Yeah, absolutely. Join us September 18th through the 20th for Sustainable Solutions, our 3-day virtual event. You can find all the details on sustainablelivingassociation.org. And don't forget to join all of our social media channels so you can take part in the action. We're looking forward to celebrating with the whole community.
Well, thank you both so much for taking the time to talk to me today. It was great to learn about living sustainably, and I can't wait to see how all of these events go.
Thank you, Emily.
Again, that was Kellie Falbo and Jensen Morgan here to talk about some of the sustainable living events going on around Fort Collins this weekend and this month. You can learn more by visiting fcgov.com or sustainablelivingassociation.org.